Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about the movie of the hour, The Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Now, if you notice, and I'm going to pull it down so you can see, both Charles and I are wearing our four hats. We had an opportunity, as we said earlier in the show, to go down to the Air and Space Museum here in Washington, D.C., where they had the grand opening of their IMAX theater.
The grand reopening.
The grand reopening, excuse me, of their IMAX theater. Thank you, Charles.
Sure.
We're still smaller than the Airbus at Chantilly. I have to keep referencing that because I'm like, yeah, it was nice. It's a nice size theater. Now, I will also add, and as I add this has nothing to do with how I felt about the movies. But I thought it was pretty cool. They gave us some swag. They gave us candy coupons that came with water and popcorn and candy.
Or soda. If
you
want
like
soda.
Whatever you want. Like, go in there, help yourself. I thought that was cool. I was
And
like,
don't forget the popcorn.
yeah. So Shane, they didn't give you a thing. They gave you a closed bag, and they had, six options?
Yeah.
Popcorn?
They had cheddar and sour cream.
They gave you options of candy. You grab any one candy you like.
Yeah.
Grab something to drink. Grab your little hat and get in there and sit down and watch this movie. And this is the 37th movie.
37.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me set this thing up because I don't want Charles thinking I'm disrespecting the Fantastic Four. Because we have a lot to say about this movie. The 37th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And the first in the sixth phase.
Phase 6.
Phase 6.
Okay, got you. Thank you. That's a good point. Based on the superhero team, the Fantastic Four, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney. We talked about it being the 37th film in the series and the second reboot of the Fantastic Four film series. The earlier one was 2005, and then they did another reboot in 2015. So it's every 10 years we keep trying to make the Fantastic Four, and we'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. The film is directed by Matt Shakman, who was in the house last night.
Same row I was
sat in the
sitting
same row.
Yes.
He sat in our row last night.
Yep.
I walked by him at the end, squeezed his shoulder. I was like, good job, Matty.
Spoiler.
I just said good job. The film features an ensemble cast which includes Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eban Moss-Bacharach, and Joseph Quinn as the titular team, alongside Julia Gardner, Sarah Niles, Mark Gastis, Natasha Lynn, Paul Walter Hauser.
Natasha Lyonne.
What did I call her?
Man.
Thank you. Natasha Lyonne, Paul Walter Hauser, and Ralph Ineson. That's why we have Charles here, because Charles is always about names. All right, so Charles Kirkland Jr., the film focuses on the Fantastic Four who must protect their 1960s inspired retro futuristic world from a planet devouring cosmic being, Galactus. And this is taking place, now this is key, taking place on Earth 828.
Right.
Now that's a good detail.
It's a very good detail because, and I'll explain, because everything that we've seen in the MCU has taken place on
616.
616. I thought it was 626.
Is it 626? I thought it was 616.
Okay. 616. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everything we've seen is on 616.
I didn't read the comic books, but I remember numbers.
Well, okay. So we're in a different universe than what we're used to. And
so you're saying the first 36 films, which happened for the most part, in the MCU, were all on planet 616.
Universe 616.
In the universe 616.
Yeah.
And now we're in universe 828.
Correct.
To kick off phase 6.
Correct.
Wow. All right, I just wanted to make sure I set it up for the audience. Go ahead.
And it's perfectly logical why, because if the Fantastic Four were a part of 616, people would be like, where they been? Because we've been going through some stuff here. They're fighting a guy that's going to destroy the world. Why couldn't you help out?
Well, he's trying to destroy the world in 828.
In 828.
Not in 616.
Yeah, but in 616, we did fight a guy that was trying to destroy in the universe.
We got codes. Go ahead, man.
So, that is a really good setup to let us see how this world is totally different in how the Fantastic Four, who's been, by the time we joined them in this film, they've been a team for 4 years. So they kind of take that Superman approach as we're not giving you the whole origin story. We just want to drop you in the story and let you roll with it.
Gotcha.
And so I really appreciate that because, again, we've all seen it. We know what's happening, and then they allude to some of the things that have happened to them and how they got to where they are. So we get to see this developed team come together and fight a foe that they've never experienced before. Literally, in this world, the Fantastic Four are the protectors of the Earth. There's no other superhero team that we know of.
This is in the 828.
On 828.
Yeah.
And so they're beloved because they save everybody. They work for everybody. They don't have to face, why are you? Don't you fight for the United States versus Europe? Or
they're fighting the mole man.
Well, that's another story. But even that part, they didn't give you that story. I mean, they didn't give you that battle. They just gave you the story and let you roll with it. So which was very interesting how they presented it. So I mean, am I supposed to give my review of this film or what I thought of the film?
We're discussing it, yes.
I think that this film is very successful in everything that they attempt. The story is well put together. The actors are very credible in their roles. The relationships seem genuine by everyone that's in the plot. They even flesh out the characters like the Thing and the Human Torch in a way that we hadn't seen before. In previous films, they're much simpler, but they have depth in this film, which I really appreciated because I'm a big fan of the comic books. And for those of us who are big comic book fans, there are a couple comic book references that happen in the movie that'll keep us excited. But this is a story that is based on the comic books, but is really completely original. So I thought it was very successful. I thought it was done well. Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, and Cat Wood write this story, and I think they do a good job. I really enjoyed the movie, and I'm going to save my grade for after you give yours.
Thank you, Charles. That was very well done. I wrote, I thought that the film, which featured a mod 1960s tone, Matt Shackman and his production team really lean into the production design of the film, which I thought really, really worked really, really well. I had shared with Charles, and we had a very heated conversation early this morning, pre-show. Heated. The way I was like, Charles, never mind. But I said that two times we talked earlier in 2005, and then I think in 2007 they did Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then in 2015 they came back and did another reboot. God
awful reboot.
You admit that one?
Oh yeah, I told you.
with Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Human Torch. I just said for the record that Tim Gordon, didn't like either of these versions of the earlier films, right? Either iteration. And as a guy that didn't read the comics, which is why it's fascinating that Charles and I have these conversations around comic book films, I may not have read the comics, but I get to watch the movies that you present, right? So sometimes they're based on comics. I just heard you say that this one is a wholly original story. So, okay, either way, it still works for me because I'm still watching the movie. Now, in my mind, before I even went in to watch the movie, after the first two attempts by Fox to make these stories, I was like, I used to always say, especially when the MCU started, I was like, man, if Marvel ever got their hands on the Fantastic Four, I think they could do a really, really good job with this because Marvel really excels in storytelling, right? Yeah, okay. So that aspect of the film, I was absolutely right. Now, I'll also say that my feelings about the three previous films, the bar was so low, Marvel just had to show up and just give me a story and it would have worked, right? So let's just start there. That I went in even with my popcorn and my candy and my drink and my Fantastic Four hat. And I was like, man, they just put a story on the screen. This is a win, right? So I'll go in and watch the movie. And I also loved the fact that previously I just found that these characters were just boring because the first 3 times I'd watched these characters, they really didn't capture the right tone of how to tell the story of the Fantastic Four, right?
Even though you don't know what the story
it
of
doesn't
the
really matter
Fantastic Four
because
is.
my point is that when you ask me to watch something, I'm looking at execution, cinematography, production design, costume design, screen. I'm listening to the screenplay. I'm looking at how to score. I'm looking at all the elements that make up a project, right? Whether it's streaming, whether it's on the big screen. And Marvel, of course, really does a very good job because there are a lot of comic geeks that work at Marvel. So even when they're telling original stories, there's still enough stuff sprinkled in. Like there's a great scene that happens earlier in the film when I think Sue is going to the United Nations to do an address. And I didn't understand what was happening as they're panning the audience. There's a certain character from a nation
Who's absent.
And I was like, everybody's like, woo! So I was like, what happened? And they told me, I went, oh, yeah, okay. So that makes sense. So Marvel does a really good job of the details, right? And I thought that the story actually worked. I was told a little bit about the movie by somebody who had watched it earlier this week. And he was actually right that, if you're going in looking for like huge action, this is not really a movie. This is sort of an origin story to build up because later on in the MCU, there are going to be things that we learn in this story that will help us when we get to film 38, 39, 40, etc., right? But I thought overall the chemistry, which you didn't use that word, you was like, they got along. The chemistry between these characters, I thought really worked well. I thought that for all of the bluster of 2 hours of this film, there's literally only like about 8 or 9 speaking parts of different people that are speaking through the whole movie. If you really think about it, it's the Fantastic Four, their press agent, the adversary below.
Right.
There's not a lot of not a lot of dialogue, like not a lot of characters. It really centers on these 4 individuals and what they have to do to kind of move it along in 828. Now, here is where we diverge, right? Because going into this, Shane, I thought this is the 4th comic superhero movie of the year, right? And let's just call it what it is. I was not a big fan of Captain America, Brave New World, and I really wasn't a big fan of Thunderbolts, right? I really like Superman. I really thought that what James Gunn did with Superman was amazing, right?
Okay.
And I see this film, by virtue of what I told you about, it's an origin story, and we're going to build up these characters later for them to do amazing stuff. For me, I still think Superman is the best comic superhero film of the first half of the year. Now, that's my opinion, right?
You're entitled to your opinion.
And I had to go back in and change my grade on this movie because I had it rated as high as Superman. And I was like, Superman's better. It's just a better movie at this stage. Now, I can be wrong that later on, the Fantastic Four could develop like maybe in part 2, maybe part 3, when there's some more adversaries and some more action. Maybe we got a different story. This story's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's easily the best of the Fantastic Four iterations that has been out there. Marvel did their thing with this. The cast is superb. I thought, the whole 60s aesthetic works really, really well. It's a well done movie. So having said that, I gave it a B.
A straight B?
Straight B. I had it at a B+, but then I had Superman at a B+, and it's not Superman. I gave the Fantastic Four B. Now, I know there are hardcore comic fans who are like, Tim, you don't know what you're talking about. You're tripping. All I can watch, Charles, is what you give me, right? So there's no more to it no less. I'm not hating. Watch this. I'm glad to see that the Fantastic Four is finally brought into the MCU and is actually treated with some love. It looks good. It plays well. It's got a short run time. There's a lot of positives. It's just not a lot there other than the origin setup for me. Now, I'm looking forward to what they can do with this, and I'm positive that knowing Marvel with, this two-part Avengers they got coming up is the Secret Wars, and then it's
Doomsday first. And
Doomsday, and then what?
Secret Wars.
Okay, there you go. So I gave it a B. So what did you give it?
I wanted to give it an A-, but I stayed with the B+. And I look back and I say it's the same grade as Superman. But unlike you, I think that this film is superior in theme and tone than to Superman, because there were some things about Superman that just didn't line up. For instance, they really were mad with Superman because he was an alien coming to this planet, but they didn't have a problem with Hawk Girl, and she's an alien come to the planet, and she's in part of the Justice Gang. Why wasn't she getting that kind of hate? So there were some things that I felt like that happened in Superman. Superman's a great film, but I think as the time goes by, that some of the themes that were relevant and important that Superman expressed will have dissuaded. And the themes that are in the Fantastic Four about family and hope and building the community, those things are going to last. And I think that over time that this movie will be last a lot better. It'll communicate. You know how you say sometimes a movie doesn't age well. Mm-hmm. I think that the Fantastic Four will age a lot better in its story, because it is more of a universal theme that people will be able to relate to, not just now but in the future.